Events over the past few weeks have got me thinking a lot about the Cold War period in global politics, and even more so this week, which marks the 35th anniversary of President Ronald Reagan's speech at the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall had been a major focal point in Cold War tensions. Remember that after World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union essentially divided Germany in half, with West Germany aligned with the US-led capitalist bloc and East Germany aligned with the Soviet-led communist bloc. That division was echoed in Berlin. Located in the middle of East Germany, the US-aligned West Berlin was one of the primary fronts in Cold War tensions. It was also an important symbol of the division of Europe and of the world into Cold War blocs and alliances. And so, on June 12, 1987, Ronald Reagan visited the Brandenburg Gate in West Berlin to deliver one of the most well-known speeches of his presidency. But why exactly was the speech symbolically so important? Hey everyone, I'm Noah Zerbe. I'm a professor of global politics at California State Polytechnic University Humboldt. Welcome to IR Explainer, where I explore the theories and concepts behind current events in international relations and global politics. To understand the importance of Reagan's speech, we have to go back to the period in which it was delivered. The Berlin Wall was originally constructed in 1961 in order to prevent the flow of disaffected East Germans into West Berlin. Originally just a barbed wire fence, over time the wall was expanded and fortified to include a 12-foot-high reinforced concrete barrier topped with barbed wire and protected by armed guards and observation towers, attack dogs, and other fortifications. The border and the wall more generally became a focal point for Cold War tensions and a symbol of the divide between East and West. On June 26, 1963, President John Kennedy visited the Berlin Wall and delivered a speech to an audience of 500,000 people. Let's listen.
There are many people in the world who really don't understand, or say they don't, what is the great issue between the free world and the communist world. Let them come to Berlin. There are some who say that communism is the wave of the future. Let them come to Berlin. And there are even a few who say that it's true that communism is an evil system, but it permits us to make economic progress. Lass sie nach Berlin kommen. Let them come to Berlin. Freedom has many difficulties, and democracy is not perfect. But we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in, to prevent them from leaving us. While the wall is the most obvious and vivid demonstration of the failures of the communist system, for all the world to see, we take no satisfaction in it, for it is, as your mayor has said, an offense not only against history, but an offense against humanity, separating families, dividing husbands and wives and brothers and sisters, and dividing a people who wish to be joined together. Freedom is indivisible, and when one man is enslaved, all are not free. All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner.
Kennedy's declaration of Ich bin ein Berliner, articulated in the speech, would become a rallying cry for U.S. support of West Germany throughout the Cold War period. Some 24 years later, in his speech, President Reagan specifically recalls Kennedy's speech. Reagan famously called upon Soviet Premier Mikhail Gorbachev to take action and to continue the process of liberalization and democratization that had started under the Soviet reforms of Glasnost and Perestroika. Remember that at the time, the Soviet Union was facing a number of political and economic challenges, most notably widespread corruption and stagnation of the Soviet economy. Gorbachev's platform of reform had begun in the mid-1980s and included both introducing limited political reforms, such as permitting competitive elections within the ruling Communist Party, as well as economic reforms like permitting limited private enterprise. Gorbachev's goal was not the end of communism in the Soviet Union, far from it. Gorbachev sought to strengthen the Soviet political economy with the goal of rekindling economic growth and strengthening the Soviet Union. But the reforms he would introduce quickly outpaced his ability to control them, and by 1989, the entire system, including the Berlin Wall, would collapse. In retrospect, Reagan's call seemed prophetic. In his speech, Reagan notes the reforms already introduced by Gorbachev and underway in the Soviet Union, but Reagan pushes Gorbachev for even more. Let's listen.
24 years ago, President John F. Kennedy visited Berlin. And speaking to the people of this city and the world at the City Hall, well, since then, 2 other presidents have come, each in his turn, to Berlin. And today, I myself make my second visit to your city. We come to Berlin, we American presidents, because it's our duty to speak in this place of freedom. But I must confess, we're drawn here by other things as well, by the feeling of history in this city, more than 500 years older than our own nation, by the beauty of the Grunwald and the Tiergarten, most of all, by your courage and determination. Behind me stands a wall that encircles the free sectors of this city, part of a vast system of barriers that divides the entire continent of Europe. From the Baltic south, those barriers cut across Germany in a gash of barbed wire, concrete, dog runs, and guard towers. Farther south, there may be no visible, no obvious wall, but there remain armed guards and checkpoints all the same. Still a restriction on the right to travel. Still an instrument to impose upon ordinary men and women the will of a totalitarian state. Yet it is here in Berlin where the wall emerges most clearly. Here, cutting across your city, where the news photo and the television screen have imprinted this brutal division of a continent upon the mind of the world. Standing before the Brandenburg Gate, every man is a German, separated from his fellow men. And now the Soviets themselves may, in a limited way, be coming to understand the importance of freedom. We hear much from Moscow about a new policy of reform and openness. Some political prisoners have been released. Certain foreign news broadcasts are no longer being jammed. Some economic enterprises have been permitted to operate with greater freedom from state control. Are these the beginnings of profound changes in the Soviet state, or are they token gestures intended to raise false hopes in the West or to strengthen the Soviet system without changing it? We welcome change and openness, for we believe that freedom and security go together. that the advance of human liberty can only strengthen the cause of world peace. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable, that would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Like Kennedy's refrain, Reagan's call to tear down this wall would become a focal point for U.S. policy and a unifying cry in the West during the waning days of the Cold War. 2 years later, on November 9, 1989, the Berlin Wall would collapse, and less than 2 years after that, on December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union would dissolve. The Cold War was over, at least for a while. That's it for now. If you found this helpful, click the thumbs up button and subscribe to catch future explainers when they're released. Please leave any questions you have about this video or any suggestions you might have for future explainer topics in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.